Welcome back to another video of Extreme Stories. We're back with another awesome video from this awesome channel. And today's video is going to be about the biggest waste of my time. More specifically, a prolonged waste of my time. Because this thing took 7 years to get rid of. But I'm going to be telling you the full story of it. And just to clear, this is a really weird, story. So you guys might find this a little strange. But we're going to start right now. So this whole thing started back in 2nd grade at my old school. And it was also around the time when I was going to move from that school, because that school, as you know of, was a pretty terrible school because there had, pretty horrible stuff going on over there. But I was glad to be going away from that school. But that day, before I moved to the new school, our teacher decided to ask me a few questions. And one of them was about whether my parents spoke a different language, like French, for example. And I went ahead and my 7-year-old mouth said, "Yep, they speak French." And that's what I thought was going to happen. But apparently, I guess they thought I spoke French too, because when I got to the new school, they put me in this special education class for, people who need to learn language English. Well, that was pretty dumb because I already know how to speak English, because that was actually my first language. And there was also give us this test. They'll give us this test at the end of the year to determine whether we knew how to speak English. They'll give us like verbs, nouns, all that crap. The only thing I found exciting about the class is when we actually had free recess and actually got to enjoy ourselves in the classroom. That was the only fun time. And this went on through 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. And there was basically the same thing. We had fun, we did all kinds of stuff. But when I got to middle school, I thought it was gonna be all over, but I guess I was all wrong. Well, in 6th grade, I was actually enrolled inside of an orchestra class, where I actually played the cello. And back then, I was really good at it. And I really wanted to stay in the class all year because they had concerts in the classroom, which is pretty awesome. But that did not last long, because just 2 months within that class, I get sent with this notification to go down to a classroom. And I go down to the classroom, and guess what they were talking about? They were talking about putting me back into one of those special learning classes for people who can't speak English again, even though I already knew how to. But this time it was because of the ISTEP test, I guess, because apparently I'd failed the test 3 times. But still, it doesn't matter, because I still can't speak English. But they didn't care. They put me back in a class. And unfortunately, that meant I was kicked out of the orchestra class, which was so freaking disappointing, because I didn't want this to happen to me, but they did anyways. And so I spent the whole freaking 6th grade year in that stupid classroom again, and it was so boring. I mean, we just kept talking about this pronoun stuff, blah blah blah, nouns, all the stuff I already knew. So I ended up having like 2 English classes, which sucked. The only way out of the classroom was to pass the test in there, and you had to pass it 2 times in order to get out of the classroom. Like 2 years in a row, you had to pass it. My goal was for me to pass it during 6th grade year and 7th grade year, so I can be free during 8th grade year. But that didn't happen. I ended up passing 6th grade one, but I failed the 7th grade one, so I ended up having to deal with the problem of, are they gonna get me again in 8th grade year? And yes, that did happen. 2 months into 8th grade year, I get another letter saying that I had to come back to the classroom again. And I was so mad, so I just threw away the letter, because I didn't want to go back to that freaking classroom. Because who wants to spend another year in that stupid classroom? But still, even though I didn't take the class, I had to go back to take a test for it later on that spring. And the good news about the test, it was different, because I had to pass it 1 time. Just 1 time. Pass that test. Well, I failed the 8th grade year, but I passed it finally in my freshman year of high school, which means I was free. So from then on, I never had to take the test again because I already passed it. I thought it was the end of that mystery, but the next year I go to Skyward to check my transcript, and you wouldn't believe what I saw on the transcript. On the transcript, it said for my first language that it was actually French for my first language. Well, whoever put it there was so wrong because that's not the first language I spoke. It was English, it was the first language I spoke. So whoever put that there lost up 8 years of my life. I mean, not just lost, but they wasted 8 years of my life. That's what it seems like to me. They wasted it. They just threw it away. Because the whole 8 years of my life, I was with people who knew how to speak different languages, but I was the only one who didn't know how to speak language. Because English was my only language. But they had to do this to me. And just toss 8 years like it was nothing. Well, that's it for today's awesome video. If you enjoyed today's awesome video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in another video next time.
Are you from Africa? Oops.